today we're going to look at the link between the emotional brain and gratitude. And usually I start these sessions with a story or some insight that will set the scene for the topic. And today I want to share some early research and studies that were done around gratitude, and particularly around the power of writing. And there's a couple of authors of books, one book called The Thank You Project. So it's Cultivating Happiness, One Letter of Gratitude at a Time. And that was written by Nancy Davis Coe, whose quote is there: "Strengthening your positive recall bias makes it easier to see the good things around you, even when times are dark." And Nancy created a very big goal of writing 50 thank you letters to people in her life, and found that the practice not only improved her ability to weather those bigger life challenges, but also it was boosting her positive emotion, and she was able to extend her gratitude much wider than her immediate family and friends. This process was replicated by another person called John Kralik, and he wrote a book called A Simple Act of Gratitude. And remember, neither of these people are academics. This was something from their own personal lived experience, their own journey. And John Kralik, basically his life was falling apart. He had a small law firm and it was failing. He was struggling to pay his employees. He was going through a painful second divorce, and he had grown quite distant from his two children and was afraid he'd lose contact. And he was living in a tiny apartment and everything seemed to be crumbling around him. Nothing was good. And he went on, I think it was New Year's Day, he went for a walk up a hill, and he was struck by the belief that he had become very sour and disappointed with life. And he saw a beautiful view and he thought, okay, actually, there is, this is beautiful. Where I am right now is perfect. And actually, for that minute, he forgot all about his worries and troubles and concerns and anything that was going wrong. And he started to focus on the beauty outside of him and looking beyond. And he was so grateful for that particular moment of light that he thought, I would love to share this moment or this appreciation and enable it to last longer. So he set out and wrote 365 letters of gratitude, one every day over the course of the year, and then wrote about what that felt like. And it was absolutely extraordinary. And now there has been several studies all about the power of writing down gratitude and sharing gratitude. So whilst we do, and especially with our children, if we're parents, we're instilling pleases and thank yous, that gratitude from an early age. But actually it is more thankfulness, which is saying thank you, as opposed to action. And we're going to explore both of those strands today. So our natural tendency is actually to look at a lot of the bad stuff that's going on in our lives. It's a completely natural instinct. It keeps us safe. It's our evolutionary process that keeps us safe. But I'm posing the question, what if you, instead of focusing on the bad stuff that's going on in your life, if you lent into appreciation? And that's not about ignoring all of the bad stuff or pretending it doesn't exist, because it does. But what it is doing is it's shifting our focus. And the more we shift our focus, the more we will start looking for things to be grateful for. So in this session, we're going to look at 5 effects of gratitude on the brain. We're also going to look at positive impacts of gratitude in parenting. And we'll start to look at practicing the skills of both thankfulness and of gratitude. And those will be 2 practical exercises shortly. So 5 effects of gratitude on the brain. So if you don't know any of this and you think, well, gratitude it's a nice feeling, but really what science is around it. Gratitude actually enhances our dopamine and serotonin levels. And if anybody knows what they mean, they're basically the feel-good hormones in our body, which helps us emotionally regulate. And it is responsible for overall mood and satisfaction with life. But if you've heard the word dopamine before, you may also have heard it in relation with ADHD. And ADHD is known for, it's a neurodevelopment delay. And often, because dopamine is responsible for self-regulation, it is lower in children and people with ADHD. So gratitude is actually a beautiful fit for many individuals with neurodivergent traits. But also the effects go even further. It actually reduces stress. So whilst it does increase the feel-good hormones, mood and satisfaction, it lowers cortisol levels and also adrenaline. So it is actually improving cardiovascular health. So if you think of being a grateful person and finding things every day to be grateful for, it's improving your heart health, which I find absolutely fascinating. And it also obviously helps you with emotional setbacks and your emotional regulation. And it positively affects the hypothalamus, which is part in your brain, which also regulates sleep. And so it will improve your sleep by daily practice of gratitude, helping you sleep more deeply and restfully and waking up feeling very refreshed and energetic. And it also then enhances neural connectivity. And why this is important is because we do live in a cycle of repetitive behaviors and thoughts every day. And whilst that's very, very good for remembering to do things like how to use a coffee machine or how to drive a car, let's say, if those regular thinking patterns are about something that has happened in the past that wasn't that great, it can increase your mood, making you into a low mood without even realizing it. So being aware of those thoughts and feelings is very, very important for us to do. And to do that, we need increased neural connectivity. And actually, one of the ways of increasing that neural connectivity is through learning and being present with people. So the neural connectivity is, again, enhancing the prefrontal cortex. That's the part in the front of your brain, which is responsible for decision-making and emotional regulation, managing negative emotions like guilt and shame, which are very prevalent in parents, and particularly parents of children with neurodivergent traits. And it also reduces symptoms of anxiety and depression. So you have much more of a positive outlook on life. But sustained gratitude practice has long-term benefits, and fMRI scans have shown that regular gratitude practice, that means daily gratitude practice, increases that neural sensitivity, which is associated with learning and decision-making. And this can not only enhance your overall emotional health, but also cognitive functioning. So essentially, it could be making you smarter. So it does have a ripple effect on your whole family. And this can be found by the positive modeling behaviors. So this is where a parent would visibly have a gratitude practice, and they would take time to practice gratitude intentionally rather than just occasionally appreciate, oh, this food is really lovely, or that's a beautiful drawing you've done. They're both gratitude and appreciation, but it's actually looking for things to be grateful for. So when a parent models that or has that practice, a child would usually pick up that practice without even realizing it. So you're influencing your children without actually asking them to get involved in a practice that they might rebel against, if they're anything like my children. So we do it very subtly and they pick it up. It also strengthens bond by directional gratitude, and this means that expressing gratitude towards a child, and this may be obvious, it obviously strengthens the bond and increases feelings of love, appreciation, and reduce behavioral issues. And it can be very, very, very hard when we're living day in and day out with our children to notice things to be grateful for with them, because, as I said, we go into natural automated patterns. So we don't often see things, fresh things, unless it's very, very obvious. And this practice helps us enhance that and builds a stronger relationship. And also, we spoke about 4 areas on the brain. It reduces stress. And it reduces stress by shifting the focus from daily challenges, which if you do have neurodivergent children, there may be many of those, to the positive experiences. And again, we'll talk about how we're not necessarily ignoring and pretending it doesn't exist, the very real tantrum that's happening in front of you, but you are finding other things to focus on, which is removing not only the energy, but the intensity, the emotional intensity from that situation. And practicing gratitude also helps parents regulate their emotions more effectively. And then children in turn will do the same thing through the mirroring effect. So it becomes there's much more increased emotional stability. And by parents focusing on and expressing gratitude for their child's efforts and successes, as we've spoken about before, provides positive reinforcement. And the more you do it, the more you will be able to do it. So some people are naturally very grateful and see the good in people and things, and some people are not. And I have to say, I am not one of those natural people that see these amazing things every day, but I have learned the skill because I know the great benefits of it. And often, if you don't have that skill, it can be to do with things that have happened in your past. And it's about recognizing that that's there and it's downloaded and it's in your brain and it's not going to go away. So we need to find a way of managing it and overcoming it and almost starting afresh and being able to manage those recurring thoughts if they come up now and again. Thankfulness, if you've heard that phrase before, is the beginning of gratitude. Gratitude is the completion of thankfulness. Thankfulness may consist of merely words, but gratitude is shown in acts. And we spoke about this as more about action, and that's what we're going to discuss in a moment. For those of you who don't know who I am, my name is Zena Hicks. I am a positive psychologist and coach. I work with parents, but I also work in leadership training. I'm currently doing a doctorate on the efficacy of positive psychology coaching on parents of children with neurodivergent conditions, particularly ADHD. And the reason why I've chosen that subject is because this group of parents are having to manage quite a lot and managing emotional regulation and also stress levels. So I thought if we can get positive psychology to work on a sometimes quite clinically just depressed and low mood group and inadvertently helping the children and the wider ecosystem, that would be incredible research to do. We already know that positive psychology interventions in their singular forms have great benefits. And what I'm suggesting is let's pull them all together and find something that fits for each person in their unique journeys. But I also obviously have two boys, a little bit more grown up at the moment. Both of them have ADHD, but we stopped labeling because actually now the narrative have changed into what's wrong with them. We always focus on what's right. And that is what positive psychology is all about. For those of you who don't know positive psychology, it is a scientific study of what is right with a person as opposed to what's wrong, where traditional clinical psychology is looking at the deficit, what's going wrong, how can we understand that? Positive psychology accepts that there will always be something wrong. And by shifting the focus on what's great and good, we can strengthen the person and then they're more capably able to deal with any of life's adversities. And everything I talk about, I actually distill down into a book called 28 Days Positivity. And it's essentially a journey giving very small bite-sized activities that you can do every single day. And that is allowing you to dip your toe into positive psychology because not everything is going to work for everybody. And the idea of the book was to give a snapshot of what positive psychology can do in its various different forms. So the ones that we're going to talk about today is partially in this book. So just given that for context. So looking at rewiring our brain. So practicing gratitude magnifies positive feelings. So when we are grateful for something, we get a boost. Our dopamine levels, our serotonin levels increase, and it magnifies feelings much more than it reduces negative feelings. So we can rewire our brain for the greater good, and that's by making intentional action and looking for the good. So what I'd like to do now is take the theory and put it into some practice, because positive psychology often is a lot talking about theory and how it could work, but actually we have to fit it into our busy lives. And if you're asking somebody to do something that's going to take half an hour out of their day, especially busy parents, it's not going to happen. So I'm trying to share with you the nuggets that you can integrate into your own life. So if you have a pen and paper, we're going to look at this very, very simple activity called 3 Good Things. And it's also known as counting one's blessings. And interestingly, historically, we used to naturally do this more than we do it in today's society. And when I was growing up, I grew up in Ireland, so I'm originally from Dublin, but live in the UK. And we had a very, very religious culture in the country. So every child was brought up in the church. And you're kind of forced to look at those good things and look after your neighbor and do kind things. Now, unfortunately, the traditional church failed in many areas they weren't walking that walk all of the time. And so people have moved away, sometimes spiritually. And what this is doing is bringing those good bits back and showing actually there is a lot of power in that gratitude. So what I'd like you to do is to think about, I know it's only lunchtime now, but if there's any good things that have already happened in your day, and just write down those 3 good things if you can. So when you've got an idea and maybe you're stuck, and believe me, when I started this journey many moons ago, I was asked this and I go, seriously, I seriously couldn't think of 3 good things. I was actually asked to do 5 good things. I couldn't even think of 3. But the more you practice it, the more you realize, it's easy to say, oh, I'm really grateful for my family. I'm really grateful for my children. I'm really grateful for this coffee I'm drinking. But there's so much more potentially to be grateful for. The sun on your face, the feeling of the pillow first thing in the morning. So this exercise goes a little bit deeper in just identifying 3 things you can be happy for. It's about really embodying the feeling of that. So this is some structure to help you with kind of formulating the best way of creating this exercise. And that is first writing a statement of appreciation. So have a look at what you've written down. How did you phrase it? So it might be, I received a compliment on something I worked really hard on. So actually, I feel really grateful for that. And then start to unpick it. So what happened? So where was I? Who was I with? So what were the specifics and how did it come about? Did it surprise me? Was I expecting it? And then I received it. I was grateful for that. Just kind of go into a little bit more detail of what happened. Why did I notice and stop to appreciate the sun on my face? And this will help you connect with those parts of your brain to build a narrative over what makes you feel good and what makes you appreciative. And so you're doing some work naturally in your brain to bring up these memories rather than saying, I enjoy the coffee, or I like coffee, I like this. It's deeper. And also then thinking about the emotions you felt. So often some of the most powerful ways to do gratitude is to feel as if you're back in that moment. So if your child said something really kind of cute and sweet, you might close your eyes, and it's very, very likely you'll be able to play that over in your mind. And if you do that, you are very likely, again, to feel the benefits of that, because your brain doesn't necessarily know the difference between what's real and what's imagined. And because it's already had that experience, it can be much easier to tap into. So again, what's happening in your brain is going to think that you're back in that event, which is going to raise your serotonin levels, raise your dopamine levels, and make you feel really good. And also then you might consider thinking of, well, how did I feel then? And how do I feel now? Do I still feel the benefits now? And again, going back, what led to this event? Is it something that I instigated? Is it I created the environment to enjoy or appreciate this moment? Or was it unexpected? And again, the reason why we would do that is because if I instigate that environment, so let's say I said, oh, let's all go for a walk, and then you find a beautiful place to sit, and then you see a bunny rabbit and you see all these amazing butterflies and you go, wow, but actually you took the action to go for a walk. So that might encourage you then to do that more often. So I know there's a lot of detail in thinking of things to be grateful for, but as soon as you've done this a couple of times, you go, okay, and then you'll start doing it naturally. So it's just about practicing it. Another way you can do it, if you don't want to think too deeply, this is a great one for kids as well, is using a gratitude jar. So it might be that you have a jar, and every time something good, you notice something good, you might write it down, or maybe you start it and then they'll ask, what are you doing? So I'm just putting things I'm really grateful for. And you might find that they want to join in on that activity. And some people take it out on birthdays or on New Year and then look back at all the things they've been grateful for that year. It's quite a nice little activity. And just for the final activity is looking at a letter of appreciation. And the stories from earlier when we spoke about 365 days of gratitude. I would like, I mean, if you're willing, you don't have to, of course, but I would like to set a challenge for you, and not for 365 days of gratitude letters or even 50, but maybe just 7 days. And it's looking at, could you write to a person that has had a positive impact on you, that maybe you haven't really given them a chance to hear your gratitude? And there's a scientific study that's done on the writing of gratitude letters or letters of appreciation. And the academic study was on writing a letter to somebody that you haven't seen in a while, or somebody maybe you don't know, so somebody that maybe serves you in the local shop that's always so kind and lovely to you, even when you're feeling a bit rushed and you just wanted to send them a little note of appreciation. But writing that and being really, really specific on what it was that you really liked about their interaction with you, and in some cases how it might have changed your life. So it might be that something from many, many years ago, you might have had a teacher or a friend or an aunt or somebody that actually made quite a difference to you at a time that maybe you were feeling a little low, and you want to write them a letter. And the actual academic study looks at writing that letter, aiming for around 300 words. So it doesn't have to be War and Peace, but not overly short. And outlining, how you feel your relationship is, what they did for you, how it made you feel, and where you are now as a result, and why it's come to mind. And if possible and practical, and the study actually had this piece in it, was to hand deliver the letter. And then the next step was you hand deliver the letter and they open the letter and they read the letter in front of you. Now, personally speaking, I think that's depends on the relationship, I suppose. But the idea is that you gift the letter over to them, because by them reading in front of you, not only are they receiving the gratitude, you're also receiving it too. So you're both getting this amazing benefit from them. So I was just thinking it would be really, really nice if you could, for 7 days, write a letter of appreciation to a different person every day for 7 days. And again, it doesn't need to be overly thought out, just something meaningful, and deliver it, and best to write it as opposed to email it if possible. And it might be to your own family. You want to start with your family and friends, or even if you just do it for a few days. But it will make a big difference to your overall feeling of well-being. I hope that has provided you some value. In an ideal world, we would sit here for a couple of hours and do this, have it all done. But I'll let you go and you can work on this. And please do either email me or come back next week and let me know what your thoughts are on how you got on. And in next week's session, we're going to look at that long-term impact of positivity. So we're going to really look and dive deep into what positive psychology is and why it is so beneficial, and in particularly in the space of parents dealing with maybe more challenges than other parents. And this is looking at how to create a positive culture within your household so it has a ripple effect across everyone in the household, but also avoiding what we call toxic positivity. And that means being positive because I'm supposed to be positive and not really feeling positive. And while there is a certain amount getting used to this new positive mindset, we need to be really, really careful that we are not imposing positivity on people and not validating their real lived experiences. So it's a balance, and most certainly you can do both. So that's it for this week. I just want to share also this Positivity Hub I have, which is a online place where people can come into and learn about different resources, small little bite-sized courses, and it's just supporting you through your journey personally and as a parent. There's twice weekly drop-in clinics, so like this, but you get to kind of bring your challenges to the table and we can work them out, and I can direct you in the best way and keep you accountable for doing the work. And also there'll be one-to-ones as well. You're very welcome to just go. It is a monthly membership. If you are interested in learning more about it, you can either look it up online, that's QR code, or positiveadhd.co.uk/join us, or book in a virtual coffee with me. I have a feeling my diary might be a little tight at the moment, but do my best. I'm completely booked out this week, unfortunately. And that's it. And if you have any questions, I'd love to hear what you thought about the interventions, the activities, and also if you will use them and where the barriers might be for you, because all of this intel and insight is very, very useful for me to learn more and understand what you need from me and from these sessions. So I'm going to stop the share now.